everyone, I'm Omar, and welcome to Krown's Magical...
Out of the way! There's a message from God coming through right now!
Dip Cave!
Hallelujah! Fucking hallelujah, baby! Bear Jesus is back in town! Bear Jesus has been watching what you've been doing during this bull market, and Bear Jesus is very, very, very angry with the last 24 hours! Eternal damnation will be coming to those who do not fucking believe! Bear Jesus, deep down in God's heavenly heaven, keeps a treasury that marks off how many times you have hit the red button! If you do not hit the red button enough, Bear Jesus will forsake you! Deliver us from shish kebabs, my Bear Jesus! Deliver us! And seek salvation with Bear Jesus! Amen! Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. And we have a lot to discuss today. Elon Musk tweeting in the early morning hours. Oh, what happened there? A little revisit to January 29th now, isn't it? Well, that isn't that we've been talking about for quite some time now, isn't it? Well, not really, but since yesterday. Anyways, with that said, in a more serious tone today, let's talk about the Krown application, which can be found at app.krown.net. There's so much to discuss now, isn't there? Looking at Bitcoin dominance heading around 60%, of which that does still look like a bit of a reversal on the weekly to me, but I do want to check in some Bitcoin pairings today, see how they hold up during this nice little dump. Fear and Greed Index also sticking out at 60 read as well, of which, well, we have seen a nice instead of a decline as Bitcoin more or less just reigns around the prior all-time high, and open interest more or less around the same level as yesterday as well. So most importantly with that, we still do see Elon essentially taking profits and just running this market both to the upside and the downside. A little bit of Elon Musk news doesn't really change anything at the end of the day. Of course, trend is trend, and the trend can be your friend if you just so let it be. On top of that, we see the top 10 worst coins, top 10 best coins over here. PundyX actually on the top 10 best coins a couple times in a row now. Even Harmony there too. Filecoin, I believe we saw yesterday. BitTorrent's been kind of oscillating to and fro. Qtum, holy shit. Qtum's back on the list. Oh my god, man. All right, well, looks like we have a little bit of new things going on over here. More importantly, on the top 10 worst coins, Theta Fuel, IOTA, Theta, basically all the ones that were there yesterday. Ontology. No, not Ontology. Ah, shit. That's really going to fuck everything up now, isn't it? Yeah, it's basically just rotation from top 10 best coin to top 10 worst coin is what it looks like to me. Anyways, on top of that, let's go to the market data tab. Let's see what we got going on over here. And open interest, again, still telling the story right here. I do look at this as a bullish reset, and ultimately I would be still long-term boolah-ish on this, but as Bear Jesus has come down to us in the earliness of this video, I would still be looking for a little bit of downside to follow up on yesterday's short-term, medium-term time frame analysis. Now, of course, funny right over here, nice and trending down the whole way through. I do like this. If we see it go anywhere negative, especially if we see any sort of backwardation versus futures on spot, I would be looking at that as a major low signal. Do we have anything resembling that right now? Nope, but we do see that the trend continues once again going all the way from our early January highs, actually. And now pretty much inconsequential. We see just about every exchange right around parity, about 0.01% is what I refer to that as. And then, of course, over here, we do see that the futures premium over spot price action, or, well, not necessarily spot, but perps right there is rapidly coming into parity as well. So if we see parity or especially backwardation plus any sort of a negative funny rate, I'd be looking for a mega, or well, maybe not mega low, but a major low, at least a big bounce, born upon that, probably like one of those 10% bounces if I had to guess. Anyways, with that said, I'm not really getting too much from the rest of these charts over here. Bitcoin dominance kind of flattening out, and I do believe that it still has some time to bake with that. But again, I do think that it would be very much relevant to check out some Bitcoin pairings today. Just to get a little bit, just to see a little bit more of what's going on. How the fuck did I not laugh during that goddamn intro? I don't know, man. Anyways, let's go over here to our secondary charts right now. And of course, let's just follow from yesterday's analysis, right? So yesterday we were essentially looking for a continuation of trend to the downside on the short and medium term timeframes. Short-term timeframes were looking like a little bit of a bouncy bounce, of which we said, hey, bounce can happen all the way up to even $58,000, and that still does not change anything right here. You got your declining highs, and what do you fucking know? The trend prevails in this case. And in this case, we do see that we have a nice big fat volume candlestick on the lows on this on the last bit of that sell-off right there, all the way down to about 51,500. So technically speaking, we have hit that target that we had in at the beginning of this week. Now kind of hanging right around the 200 exponential average, as you can see. Now, does Bitcoin get a little bit more of a bounce off this region? Yes, I don't think it would be asking for too much based off this. But most importantly, I do believe that we very likely see continuation of the downside from here. What I keep a keen eye on now is the daily over here on our secondary charts. The bottom side trailing band is still coming in right below 50,000 bucks. I'm looking at 49,500 region, also 55 exponential average right below there, about at the lower $49,000 region as well. And then of course we go to the 2-day and 3-day, more or less the same thing here too. So with that in mind, I do look at that as a bit of a basing action, mostly because we do see that number line up with several different things. If we go over here to the daily, we see the 55 exponential average coming in right around where? 49,500, like quite literally the exact same, in fact. Of course, I mean, the 55 over here on the daily is going to be the same, no shit, but I'm looking at the bottom side trailing band, which is actually converging a little bit on price action here too. So with that in mind, I do look at that as a nice little basing action if Bitcoin does indeed get there. And of course, we are still looking at that 3-day bearish divergence play out right here, which was confirmed a couple closures ago on this baby right here. And that would, traditionally have a nice little target down to the 21 exponential average. And guess where that is? It's right actually above 48,000 bucks. So a nice little buffer zone between about 48.5 and 49.5 is kind of where I'm looking for on this move. Again, am I getting like super bearish on this long term? No, I'm not actually, regardless of the opening statements. Just having a little bit of fun, man. Someone has to fucking have fun during this times, because at the end of the day, man, it's not a real trading environment till we get the Christmas colors on these charts. And right now we've only been seeing green. Boolah, Jesus, you need to take a bit of a backseat for some time here. But looking at the weekly, looking at the bi-weekly, looking at the monthly and the quarterly, again, nothing's changed here. I am long-term bullish, so I imagine short-term downside likely does get picked up. Especially based off, well, actually, we should go to this chart over here. If we go over to the bi-weekly, still kind of riding above the top side trailing band, it's currently kind of oscillating around it. Oh, and by the way, if we come back down and backfill around last open, where is that? 49,000 bucks as well. So several things do kind of point towards that area for a nice big old bounce if Bitcoin does need to get there, but of course needs to come up with a nice little short-term time frame pivot as well in order to kind of play into that for looking for a move to those sorts of regions. Anyways, should again denote that this bi-weekly is actually closing at the end of this weekend, and then of course we got the monthly and quarterly closing a few days after that. So looking at the monthly right here, again, am I bearish on anything that looks like this? Nope. Especially as long as it's above 50,000 bucks, I will retain long-term bullishness. And then same thing on the quarterly as well. Any sort of a closure above 50,000 bucks, and I'm essentially looking for continuation, to new all-time highs probably over the next 3 months, and maybe even more than that. So with that in mind, going back down over here, I do have to be very, very careful with the way that I talk about these ideas once again, because at the end of the day, short-term timeframes are going to be very much obtuse to the long and macro timeframes, but short and medium-term timeframes more or less lining up right now. And what do we see on the 4-hour? We actually are already kind of breaking below the 4-hour 200 simple and 200 exponential average right here. Never really a good sign, especially with momentum turning down at the same time as well. By the way, did upload the TSI video last night to YouTube, of course, and then I believe I don't know if it's available in the program just yet. Got to wait on damn old Morinfall, but actually yesterday is kind of like an off day for him. So just kidding, of course. Much love to Mr. Morinfall, and I'm sure I'll put it up, as soon as he can. But looking at this right here, still kind of riding this trend line from our last few highs in middle of March, actually, and then more recently in late March, and then right again here, obviously in the bearish control zone for this one as well, playing out some hidden bearish divergence along the way. So around yesterday's, what was it, the late day wrap-up video, we said, hey, things looking a little bit toppy right now. More importantly, with this whole Elon Musk tweet, you don't want that, actually. My whole point with yesterday's sort of like tirade against that is not because I don't like Elon Musk. In fact, I quite like Elon Musk. I really, I massively respect him. I mean, he's, a symbol for thinking bigger and thinking greater and thinking, outside yourself, which is fucking awesome. And that's great. But as far as, running an asset by tweeting on it, that is usually not going to be a damn good sign. Of course, the last time that we had an example like this was actually not so long ago, just a couple months ago over here in January, late January, that is, on this nice little green dildo right here, right? And this one, same sort of thing, right? You're still working on these lower highs, of course, but at the end of the day, what happens with a tweet like that? It's not a real move. So whenever you see something like that, I'm always incredibly skeptical. Doesn't mean it's always going to revert. And, this was eventually picked up. So, and I'm kind of looking for the same thing here too. So as long as it's kind of operating on higher lows above that $45,000 low, then, more or less good over the long term. But most importantly with this right now, I do want to spend a little bit of time on this because this is like classic fucking, silliness within the market. And I wouldn't say, certainly not everyone, but I certainly did get a lot of shit yesterday after the morning live stream when people said, TA is bullshit. All it takes is an Elon Musk tweet. Well, no. You don't understand the relevancy of TA or just trading acumen to begin with if that is your sort of opinion. The reason why I said that is because, of course, yes, you can't predict a fucking Elon Musk tweet. That's more like I wouldn't say a black swan event, but it's, it's more randomness, right? You can't control that. But what you can use TA for is you could say, hey, we got lower highs right here. And so if this, assuming that this doesn't really change anything, which it does not, I mean, it's quite literally just tweeting at the end of the day. Well, what does that essentially mean on the other side? It means that probably going to be looking for a place to sell. And in this case, you just get to the next area. If you're looking at horizontals right here, you have an obvious one right around $57,000 for a short-term time frame. And then more importantly, if you are looking at trend lines, you could do the same thing coming off these last few highs right here, pretty much right in line with that, which was directly sold into, and then boom, same thing happens again. So at the end of the day, man, these are things that you see across all markets, not just cryptocurrency land, but because cryptocurrency land is typically a little bit more on the immature side, we'll say, a little bit more on the immature side, we'll say. Yeah, that's a polite way of putting it. I think that those sort of things get driven up a little bit more than what they typically are. So you probably saw a lot of people waving the green flag after yesterday, and it's like, no, we still have a fucking downtrend even on the short and medium term time frames. Nothing's changed here. That's a classic fucking buy the rumor, sell the news type thing. And of course, it was used for offloading some cones over there in the short and medium term time frames. Anyways, with that said, if we keep it on the short term time frames over here. Should follow up on this 4-hour jewel, obviously that hodl or short signal right here, kind of playing out a little bit more. I look at this as playable as long as we're governed below the white slower moving oscillator right there. Also, this is on increasing historical volatility percentile, so that does suggest that the trend continues within this direction as well. In this direction, it is to the downside. And so the next level, again, similar to what we've seen over the last few days. And God damn it, put those fucking things away! Holy shit, Bear Jesus, we'll damn you to eternal damnation, sir. Anyways, else is getting a little bit too crazy over there. Anyways, we can lose the same areas. For the last few days here, this blue box territory right here, born upon the 2-spot Fibonacci extension, right around about 51,500 is our current low on a closing basis. And so I would be looking at that as a continuation point if Bitcoin does close a 2-hour or 4-hour delta below there. And then I would be looking for that next move down around the, probably even the 377 on the 4-hour, which by the way is kind of crawling its way up to about $48,000. So I would be looking anywhere around about 48 to 49-ish region for the next drive on this, on this move. If Bitcoin does essentially break this area right here. Personally speaking, do I think that it breaks it? Yes, I do think so. Based off of momentum on our short and medium term timeframes, of which here's our 12-hour right here. If you watch the TSI video yesterday, you'll know that this is actually about to fire off a bearish signal. Technically speaking, it has not done it just yet. It will do it on the next tick, assuming that it does not turn back onto the upside. But this is actually a perfect example right here of how you can use TSI both kind of create an entry and also a risk management. And how will you know if that's even going to happen? Well, the reverse function right here will actually tell you. And what would be needed in order to cross this one back onto the upside? A closure above about $64,000 actually. So is that very likely to happen? Well, no. At least if that did happen, we'd literally have new all-time highs on top of that. So I would say that that's a little bit less likely here. And more importantly, I'd probably be looking for any sort of a closure below to get a little bit more continuation here at the very least. Now, of course, Bitcoin, like I said, does have rising bottoms as long as you're above about $45,000, especially on our higher term time frame. So as long as Bitcoin's above there, I do remain more or less long-term bullish, looking for at the very least big bounces off the $49,000 to $48,000 level. By the way, the 10 simples in this region as well. And yes, that bearish divergence is essentially confirmed here too, with this last weekly dildo, the one that we're currently working on right now, taking out last week low. So all of that working with each other. Again, I need to be very, 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 very careful in the way that I state these things, because at the end of the day, I'm not long-term bearish. I'm certainly not long-term bearish on Bitcoin, but short-term and medium-term, yeah, probably am looking for a little bit of downside continuation after perhaps a small anemic bounce where we're at right now on like a very low time frame, like maybe an hourly, for example. Are we building up any bullish divergence? Actually, a little bit coming off the low right there, to be fair, and your natural target would be somewhere right around about 53.3 if that does play out. But that's an hourly versus our 4-hour, 12-hour, and even daily trend right now, which I certainly would not put all that much faith in, to be honest with you. Anyways, going over here to the 12-hour, following up on this dual sell signal as well, we did see a nice little sell signal, pretty much confirmed for the more aggressive traders on the 20th, fully confirmed on the 21st, and that was right around not the all-time high actually, but about $58,000. So would it be relevant to say that that's mostly played out? I mean, it's pretty big. That's a pretty big move, about a $6,000 move right there, about a 13% move. Yeah, I do think that you could say that that's more or less played out. I'd be looking for the blue oscillator to essentially, well, actually, it's right at that fib, so fair enough. Yeah, it really wouldn't take too much to get a bit of a bounce here, but do I think that we get another short leg down first? Most likely, yes. Just again, based off of our short-term time frame momentum oscillators, daily again, same thing right here. Not really seeing anything too different. 2-day, of course, playing out that same sort of bearish divergence. And actually, the 2-day did get a jewel cell signal here too, and this one's really looking actually kind of nasty, to be fair. This would make me a lot more bearish if it does play out. However, I would still give it a little bit of a chance to put in potentially a low around the 3-day 21 exponential average right here. If that does not happen, then it's probably going to get a nice big markdown, and we can probably play out one of those more prolonged sideways and down markets. Again, I do still think that it'd actually be a setup for a more long-term move, to be honest with you. I would think that Bitcoin's maybe doing something a little bit more similar to what we saw in 2013, actually, on that parabolic blow off top, where it did lead into about a 3-month-long sideways consolidation before further continuation actually to another 600% move to the upside. It's pretty fucking impressive, of course. But looking at this right here, of course, we have a little bit, we have a long ways to go before that even is available, of course. So I do think that it's worth talking about right now, of course, because it's always more fun to talk about red days than it is green days, at least for the bears out there. But still pretty damn far away, so not really too much relevant to our current conversation. Of course, this was also further verified and further helped on by our traditional market read as well. We were looking at NASDAQ yesterday saying that it's likely to put in a local high right here, as it did just kind of test the tops out of the range, and what do you know, same sort of thing. Okay, my charts are really fucking convoluted right now, apologies for that. But most importantly, you can see, well, actually you probably can't even see, you can just use the 200 simple right here, governing the highs within this read, and do I think that it has another downside move? Most likely, yes. I do think that you probably get another, another couple of wicks, maybe even back down to like 12.5 or 12.6 region. What I'd be looking for is on the TSI, if you get a nice little bearish cross right here, which by the way will happen with any sort of a closure below 12,750, I'd be looking for this one, to come back down and test around 12.4 to 12.5 actually. In fact, so this one is actually starting to really confirm lower highs right here. Do we have a lower lows on this just yet? No, we do not. Well, I mean, technically speaking, that is a low and that is a lower low, yes, but I want to see a lower low below this guy right here. That's going to really start to make this look like the Haro pattern of death, and we actually have some hidden bearish divergence on the other side too. So do I favor the downside of this one? Yes, I do. And seeing as this one is pretty heavily correlated with Bitcoin, or maybe Bitcoin is more or less correlated with NASDAQ, as it is, kind of considered a tech and somewhat of a financial as well, I'd be looking for these kind of play pretty damn well with each other. By the way, we can look at the tech sector too, because I think the tech sector has actually been a pretty damn good insight into what the market is generally doing as far as the whole goes. And looking at this right here, what do you know? This one's certainly confirmed a lower high, and not only that, we are closing on just about lower lows as well. This one very likely does come down further. Again, same sort of thing with momentum turning against you actually already. So I'd be willing to say that yes, this very likely does fall through. Hey, what are you laughing at? No fucking funny times over here. I don't pay you 5 nanos an hour, bitch, for nothing. Lazy Finnish people.
They're all the fucking same. All look the same. Okay? Doing fucking nothing. All right? Bunch of fucking light-haired, curly-head fucks. Fucking Finnish people.
No, I said light white hair, actually. Anyways, yeah, short-term, very likely downside here, and I imagine that's going to, lead into the rest of the market as well, because that is a big portion of NASDAQ, of course, and NASDAQ has major influences on SPY futures, and of course Dow Jones, of which Dow Jones actually kind of holding up a little bit better than the other two. But do I think that Dow Jones comes in line with everyone else? Very likely, yes. Very likely, yes. I think that we've seen the rotations kind of go on here. Dow Jones was the last one on this one. It was first NASDAQ, then SPY futures, then Dow Jones, and Dow Jones probably going to join the party after these two, because NASDAQ's, well, looks like it's leading it actually. So SPY futures doing the same thing here too. Officially lower lows on the 4-hour as well. So what I'd be looking for the next sort of downside move on the daily? Very likely, yes. Probably back down to about 3850-ish region, and that is very much in line with what we see on NASDAQ as well. Smack her a little. Whoa, hey man, this ain't the 1950s. We use our words nowadays. Anyways, why so many dishes just eat Elsa? Hey, no, we don't do that. We don't do that around here, man. I could tell you a very disgusting story from yesterday, by the way, as well, but I will protect the identities of those involved. Oh, you know what story I'm talking about. You know exactly what story I'm talking about. It's called Plunger Time. Is that me or is that you? All right, anyways, I'm talking about a different plunger time, baby. Anyways, looking at CME over here, what do we see? We do see about the same thing actually. This one looking a little bit more short-term bouncy actually. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Bitcoin try a little bit of an extremely short-term bounce, maybe back to 53 or 53.5, maybe in 54 in the extremely short term. But ultimately, this one does still looks like it wants to come down lower. We do see but daily, more importantly, rejecting the bullish control zone. And do we have any sort of divergences available to us just yet? Actually, no, we do not. What I will say about CME, though, is that CME technically does not have a downtrend here, which is a little bit more of a point in the Boo Law-ish court at least. And I would be looking, that would very likely play into the narrative that Bitcoin likely does try a bounce, at least on a higher low before then. Could it happen around the 21 exponential average? I mean, typically it does, but the way that the RSI, the way that momentum is looking right now, I do not think that that plays out. Probably looking for another move to the downside, born upon any sort of a breakage of the 200 simple right here, which, by the way, is directly in line with our 4-hour structure, coming in from our last few highs on 25th of February, 3rd of March, and 8th of March right there in this little accumulation zone before that last little markup to about $62,000. So with that in mind, again, very, very common stuff to be bounced around this region, but we do see that TSI turning down against it, and still following this trend line right here. I would still, I'll still be erring on the side of the downside short term. Jules in more of a downside posturing, not that it's a signal or anything. And we do see this on expanding volatility. And do we have hidden bearish evidence here? Actually, we do not, technically speaking, but overall, any sort of a breakage below here, and I'd be looking for the next move down, very, very likely to just about $49,000. And that number once again comes up for the fucking millionth time, it seems like, in confluence with all the other things that we've been looking at across these dirty charts right now. Anyways, I want to check out Caretaker Ranges. I want to see if he agrees with what we're looking at on the 4-hour. And actually, yes, bear zone consolidation right now. He's looking at nice support right around about 48.5. So once again, the 48.5 to basically $48,000 to $49,000 levels coming in confluence with each other. So I do like that. And then let's go check out the Pi cycle indicator over here too. So you'll notice that yesterday obviously was a down day. During the actual day itself, though, around that Elon Musk tweet, we did see that, Bitcoin had like a $3,000, $4,000 rally, pretty impressive stuff. And actually the Pi cycle indicator percentage came all the way down to like 82, almost even, I believe it was. And with that last advent of a downside move, we actually saw it go up about 0.75% thus far. So you can imagine that if it does come down a little bit more, that will start to elongate even more. So I would actually even juxtapose everything that I'm talking about on the short and medium term timeframes against the long-term and macro analysis, saying that the longer that Bitcoin actually does come down in slow and controlled move, which is the key operative term here, the more and more likely that this does align with a more prolonged bull market, with Bitcoin ultimately hitting likely higher prices as well in a more constructive manner, which is good long term actually. So you actually kind of want this. I mean, you don't just want to go to the fucking moon, regardless of what the cryptocurrency moon boys and doom boys say, which this is very much going to the moon right here, to be fair. But at the end of the day, we do see that this is very much in line with what Bitcoin likes to do historically speaking. And if Bitcoin wants to play out a 30 to 40% pullback from this region, that is very much not out of the question. We've seen this a million goddamn times. I don't want to measure out all these ones over here, but you can imagine that they're pretty much all the same. This pullback right here, 37.5% within the context of a bull market. This one over here, 34 and 3/4. This one over here, about 33, 34%. You get where I'm going with this. They're pretty much all the same. I've done this a million goddamn times now, and I don't want to bore the people who have been here for a long time. So we can see that coming off our current all-time high to where we're at right now, it's about a 17.3% pullback. If we were to elongate that one all the way down to the 21 exponential average, which is a nice little base scenario, that actually be all the way down to about 36.5%. So I just want to show that Bitcoin can play out a nice pullback here. It'd be very much within the context of it, of what it does historically speaking, and I would be looking at that more or less as a long-term opportunity with short-term volatility, if you want to call it that. So with all of that in mind, I do think it would be a good idea for me to get on the comments now, because, well, I think I just talked my whole fucking head off and made an absolute fool of myself, leading bare Jesus prayers in the morning like a goddamn pastor. But I've been inspired by Paula White. She's a very lovely lady. She's great. She's fucking great. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, definitely go Google Paula White right fucking now, and you will have your mind blown as to what goes on in America and what, more importantly, goes on during the last presidency, which is fucking hilarious. Okay, I don't care if you're religious. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. That's fucking funny, man. Funny is funny. Okay, I'm not saying that it's good or bad, but it's fucking funny. All right. So Jesus Christ. Anyways, you got to be very careful with what you say nowadays, because if you there are certain words that you might say and you'll get an email for it, and it's just like, what the fuck. You can't say this word. Is that the issue? Anyways, I'll get onto that maybe a little bit of maybe another time. I see Elsa is in the chats right now. Be quiet before men are speaking, please. And let's see. Dion Nikolov says, Krown, why are you bearish at the bottoms and bullish on the tops? Why? I'm always going to be bearish at the bottoms and bullish at the tops because that is what that is going to be my buys turn to trend, obviously. But what I want to be doing as a trader, and this is what a lot of people, again, don't understand about trading, is I'm always going to be bullish at here at 20,000 bucks. I was bullish at 20,000 bucks, but I'll tell you where I actually changed my mind was about 16,000 bucks right here when Bitcoin confirmed this as a local high. That's where I started to change around. So, I'm always going to be bearish right there. I'm always going to be bullish right there. I'm always going to be bearish right there. So you saw this all recorded in 2018, 2019, bearish the whole way through 2018. And, you'd be saying the same thing. Krown, why are you bearish at the lows? I mean, well, it's like, yeah, it's fucking bearish. That's why I'm going to be bearish, because it's more likely to continue. And guess what? We did get that continuation. And guess what? Back here at about 3,100 bucks, I was actually bearish there too, looking for a move into the upper 2,000 bucks territory. But the condition was, of course, on the other side, that if Bitcoin has a reversal on the weekly above the 200 exponential average, I would be bullish. And guess what? I did change my mind over here. All the videos are there to document that if you so desire to watch them, which you can actually just identify the dates by looking at your trading view calendars here. And well, I wasn't necessarily bullish at the bottom, but do I really care about being bullish on the bottom when I can be bullish over here and ride this whole move? And then the same thing over here. I was actually bullish all the way over here. Every fucking time it's going to be that way, man. And I didn't switch into bearish until we actually had a reversal over here. That's just the way that I, play out my biases on the weekly, because that's been keeping me safe more or less, especially in this market over a long period of time. So I actually stand by that quite significantly. And that's, that's just the imperfectness of analysis. But at the end of the day, I mean, things are more likely to continue than not, of course. And you're seeing that pretty much exactly right now, actually. So fair enough. Anyways, I hear the sound of victory, says Brian Zach Music. There you go, man. There you go. Is the pie chart in play? I mean, is it in play? It is playing, I guess, but it's not giving a signal right now, if that's what you're asking. If you're looking at, well, hold on, that's the weekly. Yeah, daily is going to show a different number, but I thought it was actually nailed down to a singular time frame. Anyways, either way, it's still in like the 82.5% region, and like we have been saying, the more that Bitcoin comes down here, the more that percentage will actually naturally go up. Again, in a slow and controlled move, that actually would be a good thing. Anyways, okay, cool. I'm just glad Krown let you out of the kitchen, Elsa. Ring, ring. Elizabeth says, so down and sideways for 3 months, then pick up, then up 600%. I wouldn't necessarily say that as well. I'd really give Bitcoin a chance to actually put in a potentially a major low, anywhere around like low $50,000 or upper $40,000, like 48, 49,000 bucks. We're kind of talking about here. When I start to look at that, Elizabeth, if I want to be a little more direct, that would be a lot more likely, in my opinion, if Bitcoin were to take out this local low here on the weekly. If it takes out about 45,000 bucks to the downside, I would be looking for one of those prolonged sideways and down markets, probably back down, maybe even around $30,000 base, which is actually rather interesting because I want to pull up this tweet. Fuck, did I save the tweet? Hold on. Let me see if I can pull up the tweet. This is really fucking interesting. I want to give credit to the person who made it as well. It's Mr. Lowstrife. Where is you, sir? Let me see if I can pick this one off the crypto Twitters. This guy's great though. Yep, here it is. Fuck yeah, I found it. All right, this is excellent. Okay, so Mr. Lowstrife, who's like an OG of the Bitcoin land, he's really, really great actually. I really like this guy. And he's definitely worth a follow on Twitter, by the way. He actually went into the contract terms for the Tesla Bitcoin whole interplay, right? And he actually saw that they are quoting $100 a Bitcoin at 0.287. That would actually be an implied Bitcoin price of $34,781. It's rather interesting now, isn't it? That's pretty much right around the last macro low, I would say, for Bitcoin. So with that in mind, I mean, does Bitcoin have a base around there? Probably yes. Can Bitcoin revisit that region? I mean, if people want to cause maximum pain over the next few months, yeah, they could absolutely do that. No doubt about it. So I did want to bring that up. It doesn't mean that things are going to come down there, obviously, but it just means that if things do come down there, that would be a very obvious long-term accumulation region, as that kind of is where their risk is, of course. Anyways, Fishing with Donnie says, interested in your take on silver and gold pair. God damn it, one at a fucking time, for the love of God. Oh my God. Sorry, man. I should express appreciation. I appreciate your sentiments, sir. But I would humbly ask. We can look at gold just because gold is going to be easier to look at, and silver's like, I can't understand silver. Silver is like actual garbage. It's not actual garbage, but look, if you're looking for the fucking moonshot, is silver going to be it? No, gold has a better chance of it. I would be actually looking for a bit of a local low here on gold versus Bitcoin, which is actually very interesting because I am like, a little bit short term looking for more downside on Bitcoin, and on gold I'm actually looking for a greater bounce, in fact, which let's see if it actually is still doing that. Yeah, more or less. I mean, I'm looking for the weekly to probably trade back up to the deeper 1700s region. So anyways, going back to this chart over here, if you want to look at gold versus Bitcoin specifically, as calculated by TradingView, I mean, obviously it's a long-term downtrend, yes, but can you have one of these more elongated bounces? Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I'd imagine we probably even have some bullish divergence coming off the low as well. Yeah, we do, between this point and this point. So I'd be looking for a nice move up, actually, especially in the short term, in fact. Anyways, moving on, we got Mr. Go Lucky. Yes, Earth Core, here we come, baby. Okay, I do want to be a little bit more okay. Besides my inherent ridiculousness with the opening statements, I would not necessarily call the Earth Core. Again, I am still long-term bullish on this one. Actually, in fact, very long-term bullish on this. The longer that Bitcoin plays out a little bit of sideways and down, the better actually for the long term, in my opinion. Kendrick to Camps, what's up, man? Oh, baby, the Dominicans are here with Bear Jesus contributing to the red dildo funds in deep old heaven. Love it, man. Can my greedy short-term bear heart look lower than 1600 buyback point on Maker USD? Okay, let's check it out. I thought you were going to say Ethereum because I would imagine Ethereum is probably around there. And it's actually right below 1600 right now, in fact. Anyways, to look at Maker right here, would I be looking for about 1600? If Bitcoin dumps out, yeah, I'd be looking at about 1600-ish region, anywhere between about 15 and 1600. Extreme likelihood of a bounce around there. Do I look at this one as continuation of the downside? Very likely, yes. Again, the TSI given the bias here below the zero read for the bearish, for the bearish zone, obviously. And again, this one, structurally speaking, actually just kind of completed a bit of a descending triangle here, again on the low. So a bearish continuation formation. Oh, I guess I already had it in here. Nice one. So we can actually just add the measure move to it, and it looks like I've already done it. And we can come up with an aggressive read and a conservative read. Conservatively, yeah, about actually higher than that. Conservatively, it'd suggest around 1650. Yeah, about 1650. Aggressively 1600 actually. So anywhere around there, I'd start to look for bigger bounces. Bitcoin is going to Uranus. What the fuck?
The fuck did I just hear? Talking about Uranus on very important technical analysis channel. How dare you? Red, white, and blue.
BG11 says Hex USDC daily. Let's see, is there? All right, we can check it out. Hex USD versus USDC. Why USDC? Oh, I guess it's on Uniswap. All right. Actually looks good here. Actually looks good here. Look, man, I'm not going to be the one to tell you that Hex is like the most legitimate thing of all time. I have no comment on that. But as far as charts goes, it's pretty good. Pretty good. Is it going to join the rest of the market? Probably yes. Let's see if we can come up with another chart that's a little bit maybe more long-term perhaps, and see if this is relevant. And actually it is. I mean, this is actually very obviously accumulation. This is actually extremely obvious continuation and reaccumulation, in fact. Now, does it continue from exactly this point? I don't know about that, man. I could certainly spend some more time within this formation and bake until like maybe like April or around late April. But ultimately, I'd actually be looking for a bullish resolution of this and probably heads up to like 2 cents long term. I know it sounds fucking crazy, man. And again, this is no comment on the underlying technology of this, but as far as charts go, it's actually a pretty damn good chart. Long term, this is again long term. Let's actually go to a daily. Yeah, daily ain't bad here either. Is this one ready exactly where we're at right now? I mean, look, there's no greater warning signal than seeing something like this happen. Like this, I shudder to use this word, and I almost never fucking use this word because it's a very dirty word to be using. But you might say this is manipulations. HipBTC, not the most known for their like altruistic behaviors, let's say. So I'll put it that way. Yeah, we'll put it that way. It's an obvious formation that's being painted right here. So games will very likely be played on that one. Thoughts on Aave BTC, short, medium term? Okay, let's check it out. Yeah, a time frame on this is actually really good. Okay, Aave BTC, actually, and this is really good because I really want to see Bitcoin pairings today, see how they're operating, and yeah, they are getting hit on the nose right here. Actually be looking for another downside move on this one. Greater bounce probability somewhere around the 200 simple here at about 0.0, or just actually 5350 region. Let's see what the weekly looks like. Weekly's probably a bit more in free fall. Yeah, it is a little bit more in free fall, but I would be looking for big bounces anywhere around, what was that, 53? I might even be looking lower than that, in fact. Yeah, that was 53.50. Weekly levels are actually significantly lower than there, somewhere down around about 4,500. That's probably your big area, to be fair. Still got rising bottoms, still would look good long-term, but short-term, medium-term would imply some downside, obviously. And this is probably going to play into the idea that I've been postulating for the last few months here, that Bitcoin dominance is putting in a major reversal for most Bitcoin pairs right here. And yes, once again, we have yet again another fucking wick in this region. Again, anywhere above 62 and 3/4, I'm gonna become massively fucking bullish in this, and we're actually gonna have to do another bear Jesus prayer for the altcoins here versus Bitcoin parents. Now again, versus US dollar, they're gonna fall whichever way Bitcoin goes versus US dollar. So if it does go to the upside, they'll benefit against that. But versus Bitcoin pairing, really starting to not look good here. Really starting to not look good for most altcoins, I'd say, on the whole. Now there are going to be some big winners, as there typically are, but in general, I would be looking at this as still very, very likely a major reversal in progress right now. Anyway, Stuart says bears derping. Can you look at VET USD on daily 4-hour? Oh Jesus Christ, we got VET USD. Should we call Bear Jesus? Does Bear Jesus need to be? Does Bear Jesus need to come inbound? Daily actually doesn't look bad. Weekly doesn't look bad either. You said 4-hour and daily. 4-hour probably tries another bounce from here. Probably back up to like, what is this, 9 cents? Yeah, about 9 cents. Anywhere above 95 cents. This one's going to be extremely bullish, looking for new all-time highs. Probably, certainly north of $1. I mean, that's not saying much, but probably like $1.10 is where I'd be looking for. Obviously, you got your local lows coming in right around here at about 83 cent. 8.3 cent. Anywhere below 8.3 cent, I'd look for the next markdown phase, somewhere down around about 7.5 to maybe even 7 base. And what's up, JR? Welcome to the cave, sir. Welcome to the cave indeed. Jay Quinn says, could you look at XDA stake? Okay. No base pair, no time frame. So we got probably someone new here, but it looks like, okay, you're talking about this thing right here. It trades on Poloniex. It doesn't trade anywhere else but Poloniex. And what do we have? We have a shitcoin chart. Very interesting though, because Poloniex is actually kind of like somewhat regulated now, I believe. So they actually can't add like actual shitcoins. So this thing can't be that bad. I'd be looking for bounces relatively soon in this one. I mean, it is on the daily 200 simple, which is a pretty obvious bounce area for the most part. But did we already try that yesterday? It looks like we did, and already getting sold into. About to have a pretty damn nasty exponential moving average cross right there between the 21 and 55. I'd probably be looking for the next bounce area to the downside, somewhere around about $14.5 to $15. Of course, this is not financial advice, but yeah, the weekly is a bit in free fall. So I'd be looking for greater bounces. Yes, somewhere in the 14s most likely. Let's see, what else did I miss over here? There we go. Jeremy Shulman says, are Elsa's parents still alive? And if so, do they ever watch your live streams? They are alive, actually. Yes, they're actually very sprightly. They are incredibly old, which blows my mind. But like American old is not the same thing as Finnish old. Finnish old people, they age like fine wine. It's crazy. Like her mom's like what, past 80? Is your mom? Yeah, her mom's over 80, and her mom, like, I wouldn't guess is over 60. I'm not saying that 'cause she's like my girlfriend. I'm saying that because like she literally fucking, like, it blows my mind. Her same thing with her dad too. It's like, what the fuck? What do you mean you're 70 or something? It's like, this is ridiculous. But it's Finnish people, man. They're just more healthy, I think. So they don't look like shit when they get past like 50 or 60. Not everyone, obviously. Do they ever watch your live streams? Actually, neither of them speak any English, except Dad speaks hi. Hello. How are you? It's actually really nice, but I really like them, but we have to speak through a translator, which is kind of funny and makes for some very awkward but hilarious situations. And actually really like them, but they actually can't understand English. So if they did watch the streams, they probably just think I look crazy, because I am. Also, KSM USD Binance Daily. Okay, let's check it out. KSM USD Binance Daily. All right, let's check it out. I just repeated that twice, so I must definitely be going crazy today. Looks toppy as fuck on the weekly. Daily, a little bit toppy as well. Does this one try another bounce here on the short-term timeframes? Probably yes. I wouldn't be surprised to see this one try another bounce towards like 440, 450-ish region. But as long as you're basically as long as you're below about 460, I'd be looking for this one to keel back on over and get sold into, and probably have another move down towards like 369-ish region, because that's a nice and an even number. I mean, this does look toppy on a weekly here, to be fair. If this one actually reverses alongside Bitcoin, like for a more long-term move, I'd be looking for this one to come down to like 250 region, 270ish region, but at least for now, short term actually probably trust another bounce. Here's the thing though, if you do see a 4-hour closure above 460, I would actually get bullish on this one for new all-time highs. Do I think that's what's happening here? No, but that's my condition for failure on this 4-hour dual sell signal, by the way. And this is actually following up a pretty damn good sell signal over here, which was actually not on the high. Actually would have got stopped out on this one, so fair enough. Anyways, KSM versus BTC. Oh, Jesus. We just looked at versus USD. We'll look at it versus Bitcoin now. All right, this one's getting a lot of love recently. Same thing, basically same structure here. If this one wants to have a short-term bounce up to like 8,200 satoshis, no problem. But as long as it's closing below 8,200 satoshis, I look at this as a lot more likely to come back onto the downside. I'm looking at 7,100 right here, maybe a little bit lower than that over time. But for right now, I mean, the daily's actually not that bad, to be fair. In fact, the daily's not bad at all. Long term, this is actually pretty damn good. If this one did come down to those levels, that's very likely going to be interpreted as a major opportunity here. But I'd be using this as a bit of a bias buster, again, about 8,200 satoshis. As long as it's below there, I do look for this one to head onwards and downwards. Same sort of signal baking on here as we saw in US dollar, actually, with the 4-hour dual sell signal, which I do favor there. Anyways, David Esquivel says, Russell Futures, Sandpaper Times, Trade Station, please, sir. Sure, man. Yeah, we can look at the RUT. All right, let's check it out. Russell 2000 right here. And or you want to look at futures. I actually don't know the ticker for futures, but yeah, I'd be looking for, I mean, this is very obviously reversal. This is kind of what I'm looking for on Bitcoin, to happen, to be honest with you. Your next obvious target is going to be 21 on the weekly, but is this one likely to bounce before that? Typically it's going to bounce around your last little local low. So, does it open up maybe around like 2160 or something? Maybe yes, but ultimately, especially as long as below below about 2200, we'll call it. Or what's this level right here? Yeah, about 2,200. I'd be looking for any sort of a short-term bounce to get sold into. Looking for like the next real bounce somewhere down around here at about 2075 region along this structure. Let's see what the daily looks like. Yeah, daily having a nice level coming in there as well. So that'd be kind of like your obvious bounce area, and the weekly same thing here too. So a lot of things lining up there. I'd really like that area for a bounce. Not necessarily calling a reversal right there. In fact, I would be a little bit more skeptical of reversal on this one before the others, but extremely likely bouncing within that region. Yeah, man, with a lot of these mid caps, I mean, a lot of the time they do go sideways, but I wouldn't necessarily say that this is a sandpaper range. Like, this is pretty fucking good trading right here for traditional markets, man. If that's sandpaper to you, well, you're not going to like traditional land, I don't think. All right, let's see. What else did I miss? Okay, Nico Senpai says Riot Mara 1 to 3. Sir, fucking one, please. One. We'll look at RAI just because I'm a little bit more familiar with this one. NASDAQ. And again, I don't want to sound unappreciative here. I'm probably getting a little bit too crazy drinking all this damn coffee here. But yeah, man, it would be better for everyone if it's just like one request at a time, though, just because, everyone has like a fucking question, right? Riot looks really toppy to me. Looks really fucking toppy to me. Now, does it bounce here first? Very likely, yes. So short terms, very likely will bounce here. Does it bounce back up to like 51? Perhaps yes. I wouldn't be asking for too much for another move back up to 50, but this is obviously very likely to come down a little bit further towards about 32.5 region. So I'd be looking for further markdown after maybe a short-term bounce off this one. I don't really have a reason to believe that this thing is reversing after just being an absolute shitcoin of a stock for the last 20 years, or sorry, 17 years or 14 years, or 17 years, 14 years. Wow, Krown, can you do math? Actually, no, I can't. It's been bad ever since 07. So what would that be? About 14 years? Yes. Anyways, let's look at the monthly, how that one's coming in around the closure. And yeah, a little bit of a top B formation right there. So I probably would look for this. Honestly, I'd be looking for this one to work its way down towards like $20 and below over the next, over the next half year to a year. But that's going to take some time. And you're not talking about that. You're talking about short term. Anyways, Fishing with Donnie says, last night when you told that guy he must live in Australia because his pick was upside muffin down was premier entertainment. You like that, man? Gotta love the Australians out there. Australian people are so interesting because the ones that travel, they are like the best people I've ever met in my life. It's same thing with Americans, actually. But the ones that you meet in Australia, from what I've heard, they can be a little bit less inspiring. I think that's true of everyone, though. Like, if you just kind of stay around your home turf, then it probably doesn't, probably not for good. Usually shows that person maybe a little bit more. Fuck it. We don't need to talk about this right now. Does this one have another short-term bounce off this region? Perhaps yes. You're looking at 4 hours specifically, so I don't think looking for a bounce to maybe like 106 or 107 is out of the question if you're looking like very short-term. But is this one likely to come down with the rest of the market? I mean, we did hit our target from yesterday, to be fair. I don't know. Do I look further downside towards 92.5 cent? Usually I would. Let's see what Momentum Oscillator say here. Okay, here we go. All right, so here's daily TSI, right? Daily TSI will actually have a bullish cross with any sort of a closure above 135. I would actually go as far as saying if you see any sort of a closure today above that level, that is going to be almost a picture perfect TSI signal here on the daily, which should be rather powerful. And I'd be looking for another move up to, not just, I mean, I'd be looking for another move up to the prior all-time high basically at 175 and probably new all-time highs up to that. If that does not happen, you actually see an official cross below the zero read, I'd more or less err on the side of the downside. And, with looking at Bitcoin right now, do I think that's more likely? Yes, I do. I'd be looking more towards about 90 cents region. Let's see what the weekly has in store for us here as well. Yeah, next weekly level is going to be a little bit lower than that, actually about 80 cents. So there very likely will be bounces along the way, but you are looking at a 4 hour. So 4 hours, honestly, probably continuation here. Hidden bearish divergence on that last little lower high. Yeah, any sort of a bounce here, I'd be a little bit skeptical of. I'd look for Bitcoin on forward direction, actually. As usual. Matthew Stanislaw says, Cardano, Bitcoin, daily, weekly, Binance. All right. Okay. Cardano, Bitcoin. Nice. We got a Bitcoin pair in here. Binance. And you said daily, weekly. Okay, cool. I become a successful trader by learning from you. I give myself most of the credit, of course, up to 34,000 since I started keeping journal. Fucking yes. God damn it. Yes. Hey, man. That's actually seriously awesome. Look, you're following the process. You are taking it upon yourself. You're actually doing it. You're doing at least the bare minimum, it sounds like. So you're having the results. Fucking nice, man. $34,000 is nothing small either, man. I mean, that's like that's certainly a wage that a lot of people could live on too. So and I'm sure that your success will compound over on itself over time as well. So that's a really fucking good start, man. That's really, really awesome. Extremely happy for you. It's great that you're keeping a journal too, because you're documenting like exactly what's working right now, most importantly, so you can come back and repeat it. That's all that it is. Seriously, at a high level of trading, it's making like extremely small, minute, just 1% changes after you're already successful in order to kind of tighten up your win percentage. Just, even like a 0.1% more is going to add up over time. Obviously, that's fucking awesome, man. Seriously. Anyways, Cardano looks like, well, this is a 4 hour. On daily, what does it look like? Same sort of setup here on the TSI. Fuck, I forgot to add my decimal places. Let's see. Where's my damn decimals? Where's my damn decimals? We can do like, 6? Well, we need that. Jesus Christ. God damn it. All right, we need a little bit more. We need like 10. All right, there we go. Okay, so if you do get a bullish cross on this one, especially on the next 1 or 2 closures, it actually will tell you the price needed for that right here, which is 22, or what is this? I think this is like what the fuck would this be? Be about 2200. 2200 it looks like. About 22, yeah, 22 and a quarter. 22 basically around this little prior high right here. If you see any sort of a closure above there, I'd be looking for this one to actually enter into another major up phase. This would be confirmed as a higher low. Be targeting moves towards 2600 satoshis and very likely beyond that to your prior all-time high and new all-time highs. By the same token, if that condition is not met on the next 2 closures, it's going to naturally very likely close below the zero read, which will happen with any sort of a closure below 20,000 2,000 especially. And at that point, I'd be looking for a nice little markdown to our bottom side support anywhere around about 1700 or 1700 to 1750-ish region, which I do think is a little more likely here, to be fair, just in line with the rest of the market. But fair enough, this is a Bitcoin pair in here, so can it do its own thing? Potentially, yes. And this one has been one of the bigger winners, especially over the last 6 months or so. Anyways, okay, let's see. Ofer says BNT, USDT, and no, just one. BNT, BTC. I got you, man. I got you, brother. All right, let's see. Bancor, Binance, no time frames, so I'm just gonna go with a daily and weekly then. Looking like a bit of downside here to me. I'd be looking at the next level just below 1,200 satoshis for your next sort of big bounce. Yeah, weekly about the same there as well. Anywhere around 12,000 satoshis to about 11.5. I'd be looking for bigger bounces, but this one's a long-term downtrend. I mean, this is a shitcoin chart, man, versus Bitcoin. You're still operating off of weekly lower highs and lower lows, of course, although this one not necessarily obvious right there. But most importantly, I think that this one's kind of had its day in the sun. and probably does just continue the long term here with a short term downside move, probably bounce around there and then continuation. I wouldn't be surprised to see this one go for like a major retrace back below like 8,000 or 7,000 satoshis over the next few months. This is a garbage chart. This is absolute fucking garbage, like literally disgusting. And there's no reason to be trading something like this, because I would imagine that if it trades on Binance, it probably doesn't trade versus leverage. Now, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but if it doesn't trade versus leverage, I just do not understand in any way, shape, or form what the obsession with something that just goes fucking down over the eternity of eternity is. As you can't make many, you can't hedge yourself if you're wrong on the short side. You can only play the long side, so you're basically looking for these pumps and then avoiding the dumps essentially, which is, I don't know, man. I just, it's like fucking playing Frogger, but the consequences that you lose your finances when a car hits you, I don't see it myself. But fair enough, man. If you believe in the project and you are in it for the technology, then I hope it works out for you. I really do. All right, Jesus Christ, man. Whoa, I'm missing a lot today, baby. Holy motherfucking moly. Okay, cool. No more paper. Says Polkadot USD Binance Daily. Got it. Nice. All right, this one's nice and streamlined. Fuck yeah, man. That's awesome. Okay, USD Binance. All right, and daily specifically. Weekly, pretty obvious selling right there. Daily, you know, does it play at a short-term bounce here? It could easily bounce to like $32, but I'd still be looking for this one to get sold into. Probably next downside move somewhere right around $26. So, you know, first things first, does the market try a bit of a bounce to the upside? Probably yes, but after that, I mean, it's already kind of hit that measure move right there, to be fair. I do think that it likely comes down here. You know, Bitcoin turns back down again, you're very, 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 very likely to see this thing at the very least hit about 25.5 or 25.75. If things really get going, I'd be looking at a move towards 21.5 actually. Is this one ready for a greater pullback? Well, we don't even have much history here, to be honest with you, so it's really not that helpful to be fair. But for the information that we do have, you know, short-term bounce, maybe yes, but the increasing volume on the dump here does really confirm this breakdown, and I probably would be looking for further continuation here to the downside. Mr. Kendrick says, Cave, to add on Nico's question, ARB closed lower on LSE. Am taking profit to buy lower, given a move on Bitcoin at $50,000. Bear Jesus favors Elsa. Fucking nice, man. Fucking nice. Let's check it out. ARB. Symbol ARB on LSE. We've been watching this one a little bit more and more over the last few days. This one is interesting to me though, because it technically is kind of like breaking down, right? You do see an obvious ascending triangle at your highs. Now we haven't necessarily gotten the breakdown just yet. It will happen confirmed either below this low on the 24th of March, any sort of a wick below there at 201, or a closure below this last local low right here at about 215 region. If one of those two conditions is met, I'd be looking for a move down, yeah, about 150 to 160, anywhere around there. And probably a greater bounce right there, to be fair. But for right now, is this one? Oh, this is on a 4 hour. Let's go to a daily. Yeah, daily looks like it wants to go down too. Jewel kind of suggesting to hold your shorts here, not necessarily a sell signal. This was kind of the more, well, it's not too obvious of a sell signal. I wouldn't even call it that. But overall, does it spend a little bit more time also within this formation here? Perhaps yes, but bearish as long as you're below about 250-ish region. No real reason to be looking for a reversal to the upside as long as that condition is met. Mike Sanja Wilson says, hey Krown, hey man, my pleasure. I got something out of your TSI video today. Much appreciated. Awesome, man. Glad to hear that. Very glad to hear that. Link USD, Binance 4 hour. Okay, no problem. We got Link USD right on over here. I think this is even Binance itself. It is, but my chart is so fucking convoluted with the past analysis on this one. Let's just move that back, baby. I imagine it's moving with the rest of the market as usual. But here's the thing: Link is one of the ones that traditionally has kind of done some a little bit different. But is it safe from the greater market cycle? I don't think so. No. But if there is anyone that's going to reverse before Bitcoin, I'd be looking at Link. Obvious bounce off the one spot 414 right here. Again, kind of similar to Bitcoin. You know, doesn't want to have another short-term move to the upside. I think we already saw the move to 53s and kind of backing off a little bit from there right now, although not really anything conclusive as it is. But ultimately, any sort of a breakage below this level, I'd be looking for the next big markdown to about $21 actually. See if that lines up with anything on the daily or weekly. And what do you know? The weekly 21 is coming in where? 22.25. What about the daily? Daily is coming in next major level at about 21 and some odd change. So yeah, you know, anywhere around there on the next leg to the downside. If I had to call it right now, I do think that happens. You have an obvious downturn right here, closing on low, on lower lows. We'll see that accompanied by momentum turning down as well, even breaking this trend line that was born upon September rally, which was pretty much Bitcoin at about $10,000 by the way as well, connected with your December 30th lows, and then more recently in early March before that last try to the upside before the ultimate failure. So I do look for this one one to continue onwards and downwards. Jewel sell signal is continuation right here as well. So yeah, I do favor the downside on this one over time. But you didn't give a, oh no, you have a time frame, 4 hour. 4 hour can actually bounce a little bit more to the upside. I don't really have a strong opinion on that, to be honest with you. My strong opinion is on the daily and weekly there, which you didn't ask for. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to apologize, man. I don't have too much helpful things to say to you, or at least I wouldn't think so. But what you can say on the 4 hour is that it's downside bias as long as you got a death cross, obviously, which is actually just fresh as of the last closure. And then as long as it's below this last little lower high right here, as long as those things are especially met, out of air on the downside here, short, medium, and actually even long term on this one. Anyways, moving on, we got JP. JP says, hi, Krown. JP, that name reminds me of Grandma's Boy. Have you seen Grandma's Boy, Elsa? You haven't? Oh my God. Oh my, this is such a travesty. She doesn't know American culture. But, you know, to be fair, Grandma's Boy was like 20 years ago, and Finland is usually about 20 years behind popular culture, so they'll be catching up pretty soon. Can you please check out Live Peer, LPT? Let's look at the Bitcoin parent. LPT BTC. Poloniex is the only exchange that we got here. Recently added by Grayscale. Really? Okay, so this one must have some to do with it. And as far as the chart goes, I would be quite skeptical of that. I'd be very skeptical of that. Hold on, let's go to a weekly. Holy shit, man. Yeah. So a little bit of an insider pump right there, quite obviously. Here's the thing, though. I do look at this as a long-term reversal, actually. I look at this as a long-term reversal. We closed on new highs, so you actually are reversing the trend here. You do have a higher low right there. Fair enough. Short-term, does it come down a little bit more versus Bitcoin? It actually probably tries to bounce here first, although did we see that yesterday already? I think it actually already tried the bounce yesterday, and momentum on the 4 hour officially going, or almost going to go into the bearish control zone there. I'd be officially looking for the next closure and then next short-term move to the downside at about 30,000 Satoshis. I'd be looking for a bounce at 30,000 Satoshis, however. Or is that 300? No, it's 30,000 Satoshis, yeah. So fair enough, nice. Are we seeing a potential reversal on the weekly? Yeah, I do think so there. So I do want to be very careful with that. Long term, this is actually a legitimate reversal. Yes, long term, I'd be targeting moves up towards like 86,000 Satoshis, maybe even more. Looks good long term, but short term, short term, a little bit of a different story. Mustache finally bleeding insert. Yeah, there we go, baby. That hair is growing on in. Love it, man. With my fucking hair genetics. Great. Forex. Oh, nice. We got some Forex action over here. Love it, man. Absolutely love it. USD BRL. This is Brazilian Real, if I can recall this one. Hey, stop typing the wrong damn letters here. There we go. All right, on IDC. Looking good here. Looking good. And as I've been saying, I'm generally bullish on US dollar for at least for like the foreseeable next few months, based off of Dixie especially. Obvious ascending triangle at a high level. I'd be looking for a short-term move up to 575 region on a weekly. Well, weekly not necessarily short-term, but this is continuation long-term. Extremely constructive chart going all the way back to especially 2015. Extremely. Oh wow, just pretty much throughout its whole history. Yeah, this is incredibly bullish here long-term. I'd be looking for this one to get a nice markup. Probably even see like yeah, or sorry, not $6, but somewhere right below about $7 on the next move to the upside, on the next breakout, anywhere above 580-ish region. But short term, I'd be looking for a continuation to the upside anyways. This looks pretty damn good. Or extremely short term though, I'd actually be looking for a move down here, but a bounce at around 555. Daily, weekly is continuation. Very likely, very likely. And you said daily, weekly, monthly actually. So yeah, there we go. Nice one, continuation, sir. Frank Castle says, glad to see you streaming again. Me too, man. I love your cousin, by the way, Thad Castle. He's great. I missed the 51,000 Bitcoin dip. A dipola, huh? But still want to pick up a bag now. Do you think it will move to the downside again? Well, if you rewind to the beginning of this here video, yeah, that's actually exactly what I'm thinking. In fact, I think you might even be happy that you didn't necessarily pick up $50,000, or $51,000, but fair enough. You know, to each their own. Yeah, I am looking a little bit further down here, to be honest with you. And again, the 20-minute long analysis on that move is at the beginning of this video if you want to see that. Kendrick Camp says the Dominicans are enjoying unknown market wizards. There we go, baby. Anonymous, motherfucker. Anthony Demoski says, Crypto Diesel here. Can you please look at RSR BTC on Huobi? Big 7-month range. RSR BTC. Okay, so this was a 2017 shitcoin. Let's see if this one's still doing its thing. Still looks like shit long term, to be honest with you. But does this one try some move to the upside? Probably does. The general market is, you know what, I'd say I'd be cautiously bullish on this one. I have no problem being bullish on this one just because like most altcoins are getting a free ride right now, as long as it's especially above like 125, we'll call it. If it loses 125, I'd immediately look for a full-on retrace back onto the all-time lows over the next few months. I'm very skeptical of shitcoins like this, but the general market is kind of getting just free rides to the upside if they haven't already, and this one probably does get that same move. But I'd be using that as a big pivot right there, 125. As long as 125's held, I am essentially bullish on this. Probably just looking for this one to float its way up to maybe even 200 satoshis over time. But if it loses that level, I'd be looking for the full retrace. And I don't understand unless if you really love the underlying technology. I don't understand why pick something like this. There's like an infinite amount of possibilities in this market, sir. But hey, fair enough. That's your prerogative, right? We're all free people. Kevin fucking one says, "Sup Krown?" What's up, Kevin? XRT BTC. XRT. Okay, I'm not familiar with this one. XRT Robonomics Network. All right. Cool name. Very cool name. Long-term downtrend. Shit chart. We got some shitty charts, baby. These robots are all fucked up, man. I've been killing tons of robots in Horizon Zero Dawn too, man. It's really, really good. Okay, kind of similar to the last chart, although this one's a little bit worse, to be fair. You still got declining highs here, which I'm never going to like, obviously. Daily RSI, it's a little bit of a rejection there too. Okay, did you give a time frame on this? Yeah, you did. Daily is it a resistance support flip out of symmetrical triangle? No, no, it is not. I don't see any symmetrical triangle here. I don't see any triangle at all. In fact, if anything, I see a descending triangle on the declining highs, but I don't think it works out like that either. I think that there's some obvious pivots here, to be fair. Bullish would be any sort of a daily closure above this level right here, the same level that you've been getting rejected at about 900 satoshis or whatever this number is. Maybe that's 900,000. By the same token, I'd be bearish as long as you're below this region, essentially. I see no real reason to be looking for a reversal here. If anything, you got major hidden bearish divergence between this local high and this local high. That's not looking fucking good. Weekly has not confirmed a local high just yet, but if it does, you'll have even greater hidden bearish divergence, and that would imply moves down over a long period of time, back down to like 600 base. Again, over a long period of time. But hey, if this level is taken out to the upside, I would get bullish on it at the very least for another move back up towards about 1,000-ish region, a little bit north of 1,000, and potentially more over time. But that's the big pivot for me. I remain bearish as long as it's below there. Of course, this is not financial advice, sir. Anyways, let's see. David Esquivel says HD 1 hour or open. 1 hour. What do you mean 1 hour open? Like Home Depot? Yeah, man, I know Home Depot. This one used to trade in our pit, I believe. I never traded it myself though. 1 hour or open? What do you mean 1 hour or open, sir? I'd probably be looking for a short-term downside move and probably bounce off of like 290, 291 region. This one actually still holding it up relatively well, but I do think with the way that futures are looking here, probably does get sold into, especially with the way that Dow Jones is kind of coming down as well. Yeah, Jewel sell signal a couple times right there. Yeah, I'd be looking for at least short-term downside, maybe even extend that to like daily downside. This one doesn't look as bad as the other one, so to be fair, I mean, this one actually looks pretty fucking good on a daily, to be honest with you, but you specifically asked about an hour, so I'll give you an hour. Charlie Pips says, "Hey Krown, what's up, Charlie? Thoughts on XRP USD 4-hour daily?" Actually, XRP is quite interesting to me because the last few times that I've checked in on it versus the US dollar pairing, it does not look bad. I mean, obviously short term is going to look bad here, but if you are asking for a 4 hour, but you're also asking for a daily. So let's look at it on a daily. As long as it has these rising bottoms here coming in from, I believe, our March 1st lows, actually, I do look at this as a lot more likely to give another try to the upside. Weekly looks like it wants to try to pull through as well. I mean, this is kind of reversal-ish behavior. You see that same sort of change in behavior as far as volume goes. You see a bit of a higher low there too, and a higher high. I do favor that long term always, but here's the thing. This is only relevant, at least for myself, as long as we're on a weekly closing basis above about 41.5 cent. I'd be happy to be bullish on this one on a daily. Basically this a little bit higher than that, actually, 44 cent. No, sorry, 43.5 cent is your last higher low right there. So as long as it maintains, especially the daily, I actually would remain bullish on this one. Do I feel bullish about this one? No, not really. I mean, we do have major hidden bearish divergence right here. So if you do lose 43.5 cent, that's your first major warning signal. I'd look for a quick move down to about actually 38.5, and that's going to destroy your weekly trend as well. And then we can be looking for another retest of 29 cents for the Ripple army over there. But at least, again, as long as it's above those levels, I would remain bullish actually in a more serious tone. And I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing actually even go for like $1, or well, maybe more like 90 cents over, over time, over like a long period of time. In fact, let's go see what a monthly looks like right now. Yeah, monthly's okay. Monthly's actually okay on this one. I actually don't hate it, funnily enough. Then again, Ripple does do weird things. Does do very weird things, in fact. All right, Arif 5665 says, do you expect Bitcoin to drop? Where to? Sir, rewind the fucking video, man. Sorry, not to be a fucking dickhead to you, but do you expect Bitcoin to drop? Okay, first off, give a goddamn time frame, because long term, I'm actually very bullish on this one. Short term, medium term, yeah, I do think that Bitcoin does come down a little bit further south. If you want like the 20-minute explanation as to why I'm looking at such things and the relevant pivot points for that, then you can just rewind this video and it'll be right there for you. But I don't think it'd be wise for me to repeat that because it's going to piss off the other people who are here right now. Anyways, Nero Struton says, bruh, S-Coin time. All right, baby, I'm ready. Can we check mana? God damn it, Nero, you know better. I know you know better because you've been here a long time. Base pairing and fucking time frame at the very goddamn least. Let's see. I'm going to use Bitcoin pairing just because I really want to see Bitcoin pairings right now. Actually looks okay here on a daily. Does not look bad on a daily. Weekly is an obvious long-term reversal. Yes, so I would be long-term bullish on this one. But are we finding short-term highs? Probably yes. Wouldn't be surprised to see this one come back down to like 1,400 Satoshis. But long-term probably does. Actually, I go over here to a 4 hour and I'm not necessarily bearish on this, man. Yeah, I'm not bearish on this one. No, I can't really be bearish on this one. I'd be happy to be bearish on this one below 1,500 Satoshis, but as long as it's above there, I look at this as more likely a bullish reaccumulation. Long term's actually pretty good here, to be fair. This is a reversal, and this one has already pretty much made new all-time closing prices, so I'd probably be looking for more. It's actually pretty good, damn good chart long term. See what the monthly looks like as well. Yeah, the monthly is actually gonna have a chance to really fucking do a good closure here. If this thing came back down to like 1,400 or 1,500 Satoshis, that'd be a major opportunity in my opinion. Long term continuation to the upside. Looking pretty good, actually. Very, very interesting. Sergey, what's up, Sergey? Thoughts on shitcoin sushi 4 hour? Nice one. Okay, so sushi, no base pair, so I'm going to go with Bitcoin today. See how it's doing versus the old BTCs. Okay, let's see. Sushi Bitcoin, Binance on 4 hour specifically. Very, 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 very much of a lack of history there. Only a few months old. And oh no! Oh no! We have the death cross on the 4 hour, so you know it's going back to zero. And we also have a reversal on the daily and maybe even the weekly as well. Do we have a reversal on the weekly? Getting close, getting real close. I'd be looking for this one to have a move down to about 2400 Satoshis, but you asked about a 4 hour specifically, and I'd be looking for maybe a bounce after a little bit lower. 2600 Satoshis and probably tries a bounce there, but this one, just by coming back down to 2400 Satoshis, is going to be inherently bearish. Jules even given a soft holiday or short signal like pretty much as of the last closure, it looks like. So it's in a bouncy territory, to be fair. But short term, a little bit of extension to the downside, then probably tries a bounce. If I had to guess, bounce very likely get sold into. Daily looks like shit. Looks like shit, sir. Probably gets marked down over time to like 2,000 Satoshis if I had to guess. Internet Rich says, who is taking profits, whales or hedge funds? I don't know. I'll consult the charts. Sir, they don't give like they don't tell you who executed the trades. Is it a group of people all taking profit or strangers with the same motive? Long time troll, first time chat. Oh, it is a troll. Okay, nice. Yeah, so Internet Rich right now is actually so he is admittedly trolling, but he actually brings up something that I see a lot of the time in a market like this, and I can tell you straight up, and it sounds like you're basically trying to put some light on this as well. Whenever you see like a crypto Twitter, a crypto YouTuber, a crypto Reddit talk about like it's the evil whales running the markets right now, and they're taking profits. I know what they're doing, stupid whales, leave my coins alone, that bullshit. Look, I've been trading for quite some time now. I've never ever not even fucking once known who's on the other goddamn side of my trades. You have no way to know. So whenever people talk about like the evil market makers or the evil whales or the evil institutions are doing this, you don't fucking know, unless if that institution is actually telling you directly what they're doing, which they probably wouldn't do, because that would be like going into a fucking war with someone else and telling them exactly where you're going to attack at the exact time and maybe even why, which is ridiculous. I mean, it's silliness. It's absolute fucking silliness. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, man, the only thing that we can care about, unless if you're an insider, unless if you actually have insider information, which maybe you do, which fair enough, I mean, it's kind of illegal, but but fair enough. The only thing that you can kind of interpret from charts themselves is an imbalance between buyers and sellers. Right now, we have an imbalance between buyers and sellers, where there's more supply than demand, which is why price action is going down. That's all you can fucking know. There's no way to tell who's doing what. Absolutely fucking no way. And I'd even be more skeptical of someone telling you what they're doing, because that is really at their own likely demise. Why the fuck would you be announcing your plans? It's absolutely ridiculous, especially if you're like a big institution, running hundreds of millions, maybe even billions of dollars, in this market. I mean, you're just making yourself a fucking target, a massive target that is too. I mean, it's no secret, it's no fucking secret there, and there's always a bigger fish in the sea. There really truly is. And that's also a big thing that I think a lot of people struggle with, in the sense that, like, you have to understand that if you're a whale, if you're like a whale, if you think you're a whale, you actually don't know that you're a whale, right? It's very much relevant to think that someone else has more money out there, assuming that you're not the richest man in the world, which I guess and you don't even know who the fucking richest man in the world is, because those Russians and fucking Chinese, they ain't public with it in the same way that Mr. MUSK or like a Steve Jobs would be, right? So I think it operates a little bit differently, right? Again, no comment on that, but my point is that you don't fucking know. And if someone else has more capital than you, or a group of people have more capital than you, and they disagree with you and they want to take advantage of your very public ideas, that would be a very ripe opportunity to do such things. And there's no secret that you can actually, fucking force people out of their positions to your behest, obviously. So it could be a career-ending move. I mean, these sorts of things are like nice stories. They're great boogeyman bedtime stories to make you scared of the evil XYZ, so if you will. But at the end of the day, man, it's just garbage that people who don't know any fucking better perpetuate. And I can assure you of that, because, well, I mean, just a little bit of a thought experiment can kind of lead you to that conclusion, and also a little bit of experience in this market, just even a few months, I imagine you'll probably start to pick up on that too. Don't Feed the Wolf says, can we get your analysis on RTSI for Bitcoin Weekly? Okay, so if we're looking at the reverse TSI here, on the weekly specifically, what is it telling us? Okay, so it's not really telling us all that much actually on the weekly. The reason why I say that is because when it's in the critical zone, it's actually really just an indication of extremely strong trend, which Bitcoin is doing right now, obviously. What I would say, though, is your next sort of signal that potentially the mega trend is over is coming back down below the critical zone right here. That's when, you see in basically 2018, that's when fun time's over. That's your fun time over in August, September of 2019. That's your fun time over in March 2014 on your bull trap, and that's your fun time over in June 2013 as well. All of these marking off the high right here, the high right here, the high right here, and well, we haven't necessarily done it just yet, but if you do see the reverse function come down below this region right here, then yes, I would be looking for a high. Historically speaking, that is your macro highs. And we can actually know exactly what number would be needed in order to produce that. And right now, it's not going to happen, because in 1 week, it's going to produce a fucking negative number. Yeah, literally negative $1,300. But over time, as it comes down, it kind of resets a bit. This will become more and more relevant. So I don't think that there's any real interpretation as to what it means right now. It's only going to be relevant if and when that area does get approached, which it very likely will. The question is, does Bitcoin start to put in a base around there and continue the rally as we saw before, like right on over here on the few times that it actually just continued above? Same thing kind of over here as well. That would be a good continuation signal. But for now, you get to hold your breath a little bit, I suppose. Okay, cool. Flavio says XVS USDT. Okay, daily 3-day. All right. XVS. Okay, XVS. Okay. And you said, okay, Tether. All right. Daily 3-day. All right, we got daily right here. Looks very similar to Bitcoin. Actually, no, it does not look similar to Bitcoin, but I'd imagine I'm probably going to follow Bitcoin here. This one's a little more difficult, to be fair, but technically speaking, the TSI is going into bearish territory here, so I should be having a little bit more of a down bias. But technically speaking, we don't have a downtrend on the daily just yet. The most obvious thing that I can tell you is probably not that helpful, but basically, as long as it's closing daily totals above $39.50, I guess I'd still be looking at this as a base. Within the context of the rest of the market, is that likely to be true? Probably not. But if this area does break, I'd be looking for a big move down, actually. Probably back down somewhere around like, $27, $28. So fair enough.
Thank you for 4x. I'm targeting $7 plus there. Yeah, if you're long term, actually, it looks extremely like that continuation long term, but probably gonna take some time, man. Anthony RC says, "Hey, Krown. Psst. Hello, sir. How are you?" Keenan Bryn says, "E-man daily on Nasdaq." Ooh, nice. We got a real stock. All right, it's a real stock. Imagine Corporation on Arca. Never seen this before. All right, 4 hours down, daily's down. I'd be looking for this one to continue a little bit further to downside here. Very obvious descending triangle on the highs, with your declining highs right here. And let's just draw this one out. I'm curious what this one would essentially produce. Something like that is what I'd be looking towards. And what do you got? You got something like this. And where is that pointed towards? It's actually pointed a little bit further south than what I would have guessed. 280-ish region. I'd probably be looking around the 89. So anywhere between about 280 to $3 is where I'd be looking for on the next downside move. This one seems to be a long-term downtrender. So yeah, I'd probably be looking for this one as the next major local high right here. And what does this one typically do over its almost 21-year history? Just goes down, actually. Just goes down, so I have no real reason to believe that that's changing anytime soon here. I'll be looking for downside, probably a big old bounce at around 290-ish region, and then continue on with the reversal, most likely. Also, any TV show recommendations? Myself and Elsa have been watching 2 shows recently. One of them called Superstore, which is okay. Sometimes I'm like, oh, this is actually pretty fucking funny and pretty creative and unique. And other times I'm like, this kind of sucks and I really don't like the characters. And then we've also started watching anime, which is actually hilarious, with this like boob touching hentai guy from Seven Deadly Sins, I think it's called. We've only seen like a couple episodes, but it's, I don't know, man. It's kind of fun. It's kind of fun, actually. So maybe you're into that. Maybe you're not into that. My personal favorite TV show of all time, however, is Spartacus. So if you want something that's truly amazing, but Elsa would not appreciate amazing things like that because she is not cool. No, she is cool. It's just she doesn't appreciate cool shit like that. Then I'd suggest that one. But you gotta that one's like just full on testosterone. Yan Yao Ye says, "Hey man, can you look at can you look at any pair you want, any time frames? Cheers." Wow, that's pretty simple, man. Yeah, let's actually look at Ethereum. We haven't looked at Ethereum today, and Ethereum's usually going to follow with whatever Bitcoin does. I'd love to look at that, man. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Ethereum, I'd still be looking at a probably $1,500 target after a short-term bounce here. Does it bounce back around a little bit above like 1,600, like 1,620? Perhaps yes. But ultimately, I do think that this one does come down a little bit further. Now, of course, you still got higher lows as long as you're above about 1,400 even. But could this one have a little bit more of a move below 1,500? Like 1450 to 1475 region? I think so, yes. And first and foremost, I'd be looking for a bounce off that region. Then again, does it actually bounce from here on short-term timeframes? Yeah, it probably does try a little bit of a short-term timeframe bounce from here. But structurally speaking, still short-term bearish as long as you're below this little last pivot right around about 1669, actually. Great number 2. New 510 says, "Krown, blah. Can you look at S-Coin SOTA versus Wrapped F?" Okay, wow, this is really out of left field here. Okay. All right, interesting. All right, keep an open mind with this one. I've learned my lessons in this bullshit. 4-hour Uniswap Plox Bro. All right, so 4-hour. I'd actually be looking for this one to try another upside move. Look at the TSI right here. If you see this one curl back around and get that closure above the signal line, this one very likely test back around its prior high, actually somewhere around like, what is this, 300,000 butyrols or 3 million butyrols, something like that. Would look good here. 4-hour RSI looks like continuation on a higher low here too. Actually, do you favor this one short term to the upside? Kevin fucking one says EWT, USDT, KuCoin. Okay, EWT. All right. Okay, so I'm. Oh wait, no. You're talking about KuCoin bullshit. Okay. USD. Okay, here we go. Kraken and KuCoin. Great. Fucking great. Still got those rise and lows on a 4-hour, but I don't fucking trust it. Probably does try a bit of a bounce here. Can bounce all the way up to 1580 region. But I think that this one's actually getting ready for a greater sell-off, honestly. I wouldn't be surprised to see this one back down to about 1190. Jewel sell signal on the daily, pretty decent one there too. So short-term, maybe a bit of an extension on this bounce. Ultimately, though, I'd be looking for a move down to like 12.5, maybe even 12. Yeah, maybe even a little bit below 12, something like that. Okay. Also, can you explain when do you use log charts? Use log charts when you're looking at things that move in like crazy percentages, or more importantly, X's. So for example, Bitcoin, like if you look at Bitcoin on a linear chart, it's really not going to make too much sense and not going to be too helpful, like historically speaking. So if you want to make like long-term historical analysis, then you really want to be using log scale so that you can actually look at this in some way that actually makes sense. But when you see something that moves in like X's, so obviously over here when it starts at like $1 and then a few years later it's like at $1,000, you're gonna want to use log scale for that because it's just gonna make it easier on your eyes. Stupid idiot says Ethereum USD daily Binance. All right, no problem, man. Actually, we just looked at that one, so maybe we're already good on that one, or I don't know. Daily again, kind of similar as the last one. Short term does it have a little bit of a bouncy bounce, maybe like 16, 20, 16, 30, maybe yes, but ultimately I do think that this one tests a little bit further downside, like right below right around 1500 even perhaps. Okay, cool. Let's see what else we got, baby. How deep into this are we? An hour and 30. Jesus Christ, man, I gotta wrap this up relatively soon. Nero Strutton says, bruh, Seth, can we check out Uni USD? Sure, man. No time frame though. No time frame. No good on Binance. Very similar to Ethereum. Probably a little bit of a short-term bounce off this level, but Jewel sell signal on the daily, I believe, will fall through here, and probably do see this one back down around about 21 and a quarter. I believe this was our target from yesterday's analysis at around 25 and a quarter. So that's already been met. I'd be looking for a little bit of a bounce here, and then like the continuation of the downside. So I feel the bald spot on my heads. Overall, I think that this one's going to join the rest of the market for a little bit of time. Mr. Lombardi, good morning, sir. Bitcoin potential bullish divergence on the 4-hour and 6-hour. I don't know. Is that true? Do we have potential bullish divergence? It's hard to have bullish divergence when you are not confirming a local low, but I'm sure someone will call this bullish divergence right here. If this does confirm a local low, yes, I would agree with that. How would you confirm a local low in this case? I would not confirm a local low until Bitcoin actually fucking closed above the 200 simple, 200 exponential average. Those are more likely to kind of push off from there. Where would that be confirmed? Basically above the 200 simple, I'd say 53,300. If that happens, I'd be looking for a move back up to like 55, actually. So it could happen. Yes, it very well could happen, but I'm happy to be short-term bearish as long as we're below 200 simple, especially. Would a 4-hour above 56.6 kill the idea of a test down to 48, 49? Yes, that would. 40, to be exact, 56 and a half, we'll call it, just above this last local high right here. Yeah, it would. At least short and medium term for a while. John Johnson says, can you speak on your opinion of everyone with the phone being able to trade and its effect on markets, please? I mean, it's just giving people easier access to trade, right? So people with even less experience don't have to go through the same hoops that they once did, like, even 10 to 20 years ago in order to trade. What does that mean? It means that the market's just generally more immature. What does that mean in its totality? I mean, it means that you get the charts that are in front of us right now. I mean, that's the fucking antithesis of it, right? Okay, let's see. I don't really have anything to add on to it other than that, man. Besides the obvious, to be honest with you. So unfortunately, I fear that that's not too helpful. Bruh, Spartacus Blood and Sand, shout out, fuck yeah, man. It is, it's probably my favorite TV show ever. Blood and Sand and then also Gods of the Arena are like two of the best of the best, man, and actually really fucking good. Hey, thanks, New 510. You noticed. Can we can we get some education on Reef USD 4-hour daily? I don't know anything about education. I can give you some entertainment though. Reef USD 4-hour on Binance. Okay. Looking like the rest of the market, man. Maybe a short-term bounce here. I'd be looking for Bitcoin on direction, but I imagine this one's more likely to join the rest of the market. Probably does get another move down to like, what is this, 3 cent? Yeah, 3 cent region. I'd be looking at the TSI here to really generate a bearish bias. If you see it cross below the 0 read, I'd extend that downside move significantly, maybe even all the way down to like 2 cent even. But for right now, does it play out a short-term time frame bounce? Probably, yeah. It could very easily bounce back up to 3.5, 3.6 cent. But here's the thing: I would be bearish on this one with no real reason to change short or medium term or especially long term, as long as we're below the last little 4-hour lower high, which is about 3.9, a little bit below 3.9 cent. Alrighty, cool. I am Spartacus. Fuck yeah, man. Okay, cool. So I think that's just about everything right there. I think it's time for me to wrap this bitch up. Send her off as well. It's a busy day for myself, so yeah, let's get on with our lives. How about that? All right. Let's see. Bitcoin since we last spoke, once again, confirming another lower high on our short and medium term timeframes at about 56,500, we'll call it. So that will become a pivot to the upside for both short and medium term timeframes now. We can move this level up to this area right here. And as long as Bitcoin's below there, I will remain short-term, medium term bearish on Bitcoin. Of course, long-term macro still very much unchanged for the reasons that I've been going over for like the last, I don't know, 5-6 months now almost. Anyways, most importantly with this, Bitcoin having a little bit of an anemic bounce after the Elon Musk sell-off as predicted, if you will. I fucking hate that. Sorry, I take that back. But more importantly, I would even remain very, very short-term bearish as long as Bitcoin's below the 200 simple right here, which is about 53,300. Here's the thing though, if Bitcoin does close above the 200 simple, it will confirm this as a local low. And if that does confirm itself as a local low, we will have regular bullish evidence coming off the last couple lows right here, which would very likely produce a move back up somewhere around about 55,000 bucks, give or take a few bucks. Does that get us back above our last prior local high? No, but it would at least give a little bit of a short-term potential hope for Boolah Jesus out there to have a reversal. At least for right now though, however, I see no real reason at all whatsoever to be bullish as long as Bitcoin is especially below the 200 simple on the 4-hour. And we do see that this is also following through with our trend line on the reverse TSI right here as it once again tests this region and rejects it. Now, to be fair, it is, pretty far deep down there, and that would imply that this is going to be pretty difficult to keep up the momentum for now. But at least for the time being, I still do remain short and medium term bearish on Bitcoin, looking for still any sort of a move down to the 55 exponential average on the daily, lining up around 49,500, and I'd say anywhere between about 48 to 49 is kind of where I'm looking towards on this, as that does line up with several other things. We do see the daily coming in there, I believe maybe even the 12-hour as well. Actually, no, the 12-hour a little bit less so. We see the weekly 10 simple coming in right around there, of course. We see on our Troll band chart on the daily that the bottom side is coming in right there as well, which by the way, we are having a test the down, or sorry, we are having a break from the downside 55 to the bottom side of the Troll band, which in the past has always produced a test around the bottom side Troll band, which guess is coming in where? 49,500 as well. So several things kind of lined up at least to that level. I'm talking about this action right here, this action right here, this action right here, this action over here, this one overshoots, of course. So, traditionally speaking, at the very least, tests around that sometimes even a little bit below. So I do remain short-term, medium-term bearish on Bitcoin as long as that condition is met. Again, long-term unchanged here, of course, unchanged very much. And also we do see actually the 3-day 21 exponential average coming in that region as well, based off, also playing out some 1, 2, 3 drives of bearish evidence coming off the last 3 highs right here, which is going to be my natural target for that, alongside basically a 3-day jewel sell signal there, 2-day kind of playing through already. And so yes, I would be at the very least looking for a little bit more of a move to the downside there. Extremely likelihood of a bounce off that level. Could it be a reversal long term as well? Potentially could be. Yes, absolutely. I'd keep the idea open for that, of course. But for right now, I think the pivots are pretty damn clear. Again, 53.3 to the upside. If that level's taken out on a 4-hour, could we use a 2-hour closure here? Could maybe use a 2-hour closure, but I feel a lot less confident with it. We technically already have that bullish evidence coming off, but that move is certainly very much in progress from about 51.5 all the way to 53. So, I mean, that is a 2 after all, so it's not going to be anything too impressive. But most importantly with that, as long as we're following the lower high structure, I see no real reason to switch around to be looking for a continuation of long-term uptrend like immediately, especially on the increase of volume on this last little jump right here, kind of showing the short-term bias, at least for now. But with that said, again, long-term, not bearish on this one, but I would be looking for, generally speaking, just continuation of downtrend here. Again, as long as we're below 53.3. If that condition is taken out, a little bit of a short-term rally with potential to reverse above 56.6 or 56.5 right here, I would actually be looking for another run basically back around 60,000 bucks, and we could talk about new all-time highs after that soon enough as well. But for now, I do err on the side of the downside, praising to bear Jesus. And with that said, I'd like to wish you the best and the happiest. Take care and see you